to share your story of collaboration and inquiry around the work that you've been doing with some curriculum design for the district. If you could start by introducing yourselves and tell us a little bit about what you've been working on together.
Well, I'm Audrey Wilson-Youngblood. I'm the secondary English language arts coordinator for our district. So I serve the 7th through 12th grade English language arts teachers.
In what district?
Keller ISD in Keller, Texas.
And my name is Laura Slay. I work for Keller ISD. I serve on the committee that is designing the curriculum as a 7th grade middle school teacher at Community Schools.
I'm Erin Matthews, and I am also on the committee for curriculum, and I teach at Keller High School, and I teach 10th grade this year.
I'm Joanna Ratliff. I'm the other half of Audrey.
We're bookends.
That's right. That's right. The committee's for all, I serve the K6 population.
Thank you. And what is it that you're working on together?
Oh, many a splendid thing, but I suppose the biggest thing is we began a curriculum redesign process. There always seems to be curriculum redesign happening, but we adopted the Understanding by Design process for curriculum. And last January, really, is when we officially kicked that off for all of K through 3 ELA and social studies and 4 through 12 ELA. Big process.
So we started off by really just learning together and setting those norms and the expectation that we are learning and growing and we're going to fail and that's okay. And as we work together and collaborate and try to pull together resources and all of our learning and experience, that we can create something bigger and better for kids as they move forward.
I was going to say, from the teacher perspective, this was a very interesting experience because coming in looking at a completely different approach to looking at it from the perspective of the end in mind first, that's a mind shift. So we're having to rewrap our brains around how we observe curriculum, not necessarily tear down what we had, but reconsider and rethink, reframe how you use the pieces that you do well with trying to figure out how to get kids to where they really need, because the end matters first. And that's not something that, and it's not necessarily linear always. And that's we had to figure that out before we could design that for our teachers.
We had to come to collective agreement, which I think is the biggest obstacle in any curriculum design process. How do a group of but very diverse individuals, teachers who are passionate and very autonomous in their teaching styles, agree upon what that end design should be? And I feel like in the past we didn't begin there. I don't know if we ever got there. We focused on what are we going to do? What are the kids going to do? What are we going to read? So the beginning of the journey was a learning experience, which I had never been a part of in curriculum, where everyone began as a learner. We all came in as the expert from our classroom. So it was very different. And Joanne and I I think we joked throughout the process, we were either like 3 months or 3 days, or maybe even just like 30 minutes ahead of their learning. So we were leading and learning simultaneously, and I think that allowed us to be more a part of the community instead of the facilitator trying to get their community to form. I feel like I've been a learner alongside them in the process, learning from them.
So I think the fact that going through that process at the beginning helped to establish that community, that to me was just a huge integral part of coming to the decisions and kind of putting the pieces together in terms of us moving forward from that point. So being able to learn it together, and I feel like from my perspective as a teacher, having what we were doing and almost kind of like taking the information from what we were talking and thinking about, and we all were able to adapt our direction, just like we do in the classroom, to kind of what's going on. So I think that was very beneficial. Y'all looked like you were totally in charge of it. Definitely. But it was kind of neat to see that process and to see that what we were doing right then, and then to see the results and how that was harnessed maybe
It gave you a
what our goal was.
yeah, it gave you that feeling of doing it with rather than to,
Yes.
or,
The templates.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit more about that initial conversation, because that reaching that shared collective agreement can be hard, but it can also, how often do you get that opportunity to actually talk about why you do what you do and why? So talk a little bit about what those conversations were like.
The first official day, we started with a book study, and then the first official day, we were in a K through 12 teams. I think we had 80 something teachers in the room, and two of us as administrators, and our social studies coordinator as administrator. And that first day, we set it up as a playground. We called it our playground day. And it was an expensive use of resources, thinking about the time. I just remember I feel like maybe we were defending our choice, sometimes to ourselves, because we knew our one goal by the end of the day was to start to form community. We did not go in saying by the end of day one, they will have outlined their curriculum that's for the year or sequenced their standards. We set it up as, this is new and we're here to learn together, and we're going to just throw you in, and you've been reading about this process called Understanding by Design, so we want you as a team to talk about who you are as individuals in your teams and to set your norms for your teams, talk about how you're going to work together, what will be your work, and then to just go at it and design something. And we didn't give them parameters other than just choose something, choose a nugget that you're pondering and grappling with that all of you can agree upon, and just design. And then the end of that day was a celebration of cross teams and cross grade level sharing, and patterns started to emerge by themselves. Things about authenticity of student voice and choice, process and inquiry, collaboration. And I remember at one point it was, I think, the English 4, which is the 12th grade team, and it was an elementary team. I don't remember who was with them. It was like
I was sitting there with
second grade. I mean, it was early grade, and how, in essence, they had designed the same unit about who are we as writers and what does writing matter in our identity. And we didn't start the day with, no, we're going to design a unit. It just emerged. And knowing what I know about adaptive action and human systems dynamic, looking back, I don't really know that we did anything intentional to set the conditions for that, other than just create the environment of play and design. And there was some intentionality in recruiting teams and teachers on the teams, but that was the first experience I remember. And then what do y'all remember?
Well, there's a couple things that you said that made me think about we're put in there to play, and each one of our opportunities and our meetings together very much emulate what I think we want, what we have very strong passionate feelings about how writing should be taught. And I think what we're trying to espouse as a district, part of this transformation, we're walking the talk, we're walking it with you. And although there was an application process and people that were in the room, there was an intentional design around the people that were working together, that didn't mean we all had the same perspective and the same background. We may have been chosen for various different reasons or accepted or whatever the process was. So therefore, we also have different expectations going in to that day. And some people come in from various backgrounds. Well, give me the list, let me know what I got to do, I'm out of here, I'm done. Others are, hey, I love this discussion, I get to hang out and talk with my friends and we're building something. And others are, well, what are we really building and why are we doing this? But don't we do that with our students? And don't we also pull from them by giving them an opportunity to find coherence and give them that task to see who our players are so that we know how we can proceed and what we have to do to facilitate the process? Because I know you two had a much bigger design in your head, or a direction. You had a direction. You knew something we didn't know yet.
Okay. Yeah, we did.
But no,
They
it's
made
good.
you
It's very
good,
fun. But
And
you're
any
we're all
good teacher would do
The second day they were together, the morning was spent visioning. So we kind of did that day of play, and then we just set the stage with, now is the time. If not now, then when? And so we'll come together and decide what is our end in mind. And I do remember saying to them in Keller ISD, our end in mind is not the standardized test. Our end in mind is not even SAT. Our end in mind is not even AP. We need to establish what our end in mind is for our students, for our community, and for what we believe. And they drew, like literally, they drew as a team. And sure enough, those patterns emerged, and there's coherence. And we went with the 2 or 3 things that were coherent, and that drove the rest of the process. So
Do you have those drawings somewhere?
we do, or
You
yes,
do?
we part of our deployment plan, as we were planning, was to intentionally plan for celebrations. So we were careful on those first few days. I think we laughed a little, but we took a lot of pictures. And we put together some video compilations that we used with the teams to celebrate their work. But then we also used with the teachers who were part of the process, so they could see the evidence and understand how this process was different and how it emerged, and trying to lessen the it's being done to me. We couldn't fix it, but the teachers did enjoy seeing those videos. We could say something like the rainbow maps day, and the teachers would go, okay, I know what you're talking about. But those 2 days I think were significant, and I think if we had not planned to do that, if we had started with here's our standards and let's chunk them and sequence them, we would be back where we started.
And to me, it's exactly what we tell our teachers. You have to build that relationship first, which you guys have already talked about, building that community. But one of the things that I don't know that you guys have hit on yet is we also validated the work of the people that had done before. Many of us had been on the previous curriculum.
Yes,
It was done
important,
extremely
yeah.
different. And so one of the things that we talked a lot about is you see things through a different lens. And so validating what had been done and moving forward. So we weren't abandoning what we know, we're just looking at it differently.
When you talk about the teams and the team structure, and that they were selected, can you talk a little bit about and not necessarily how they were selected, but what sort of representation you had in the district? How many of the staff were a part of this, but versus not a part of this particular step in the process?
Our goal for 7 through 12, because we have fewer number of campuses, we have 22 elementary campuses, 4 high schools, and then 6 middle schools. Our goal is to have representation across our high school feeder patterns, and then at the secondary level, I really wanted at least one representative for every campus. And we had some early barriers and folks willing to even apply, which was a change. In years past, it had been anything from, the day before you'd be calling your friends like, just come on, it'll be fine. We'll do it and it'll be fine. We'll go to lunch and it'll be great. To principals being charged with sending people, and that gets political. And so we made a shift that it would be an application process, tapping into that scarcity concept. And we did. In some places we had great turnout, and in some campuses and even feeder pattern, we had little to no interest. And we did some recruiting. We had a lot of conversations, able to bring some people on board after the conversation on how this is going to be different, what you can expect, why we're doing this, want to be part, that kind of thing. And then we finally ended up just going with what we had, which was not an even representation. But we know that it was people who were meant to be there at the beginning. And now, this year, we are adding. I think teachers have seen there's some growing excitement. I think they see the community aspect of the curriculum designers, and they see some of the product of that work as the year unfolds. And so we are adding to the teams. And so at the middle and high school level, we do have that representation of one per campus on every level at high school, and then at least one per campus on middle schools, which I'm very excited about because their voices need to be heard. We're one community at the district level, but we are multiple communities when you get to the campus level, and those students' voices need to be part of it.
When you talk about, so you're using teams as plural, but there's only 1 or 2 reps from a building or a campus. So does that mean that your teams were content area? It was a ELA, secondary ELA? What were the teams?
The horizontal. So, like 7th grade English.
Yes.
8th grade English.
Okay.
But then we did have different representation. We had coaches, we had bilingual teachers, we had some SPED teachers.
We had other coordinators. So we had our special education coordinators who were part of the process. Was tremendous and new. Our RCI coordinator. So there was more collaboration in our district level office on curriculum, and I don't know if there's ever been.
And then we also invited the other content coordinators to come in, especially those first few days where we were really building our learning, so that we would all have a better understanding of the direction that we were going. So that our goal and desire is that math, science, social studies, that we're all following the same thing, we're all designing in a line. So that it's easier on the teachers, and then we have that common philosophy.
And I liked that, being able to just from that day one, being able to talk to different coordinators and to have like a different perspective from a district level, and then also being able to kind of have that mix. I think it added to our like conversations to have a more authentic conversation, and also have a more kind of focused conversation with what can we do to help our kids. And it was just a different kind of feel and almost direction. So that was. I like that part of having everybody that was there.
So what's been your biggest lesson learned for each of you from being in this process so far? Your biggest takeaway, or
I'm gonna let them go first.
and you can take your time to think about it too. I didn't tell you about that question.
I feel like I could probably name millions of them, but the biggest thing is it's my 22nd year to teach, and I feel like I don't feel like I'm starting over, but I do feel like I'm totally looking at things differently. I'm reminded of not knowing really what I'm doing, and how scary that is, especially when you're leading people. But that's how our kids are. You put them in these situations, and they know enough almost sometimes to seem like it's just really dangerous. They have an idea, but just haven't quite grasped it yet. So I've told Audrey and our social studies coordinator, Leah, that I've often felt like I was the little sister in pigtails running behind them, because they caught on so much faster than I did. But it helped me to see how teachers were feeling the same way I was. And so just watching and growing and learning, it's put me on fire for really understanding more and how to help our kids.
Your in order. I was gonna say, I just to build on what you said, I do think that fear, that apprehension that was there, we felt that too, but also for us it was the excitement. But then it was kind of almost, I know for our group, we always kind of kept talking about the communication aspect about, but we were, I feel like, very different. We used to say that, we were all saying the same thing in different languages, and we just had to get our translators to start working for us. And so it was kind of that, So it was great to see these different minds and thoughts and perspectives. And so I think for us, for our level at least, it was kind of hitting everything that we needed to kind of involve or to process for our students, but then also for us as professionals to be able to kind of take away some of the distractions and other things that have been there before. And the excitement of getting to be a teacher and have the unknown. So it was that combination kind of the fear, but then also to me that the translation, the excitement.
How
so that was
often?
kind of our biggest thing. And then our second biggest thing was to stop overthinking.
Yeah.
And that was the other part. I know that we have a problem on our level. To kind of know that, it's okay, and it's that fun process, and that's one thing I think being noted as a living document, and I would say document. I don't like that word, living document. Like it's a fluid process. Like it is going to be changing, and that I think is exciting. So kind of that whole shift as a level for us was something that was a difficulty, but also kind of one of those exciting.
Yeah, I hear that there had been in the past kind of this sort of thing going on, and that they can't see what I'm talking about. But, but this is going on, but because of the time and the space and the structure that was provided, you were a little bit more able to do the fist bump, right?
To come together, and to have like that professional community of teachers and learners, or teachers as learners, was such a powerful thing overall. So,
and you think your comment resonated with me? The idea of having years of experience. So you think you know something, or you come in with a set of knowledge, or you come in with some background experiences. Maybe you've written curriculum I had, so I kind of felt like I knew. I had a set of expectations. And I was working with a partner who had also been directly involved in writing precisely this curriculum. I had written a different curriculum. So now we're working with the dynamics, and so we had to learn how to work with the team dynamics. And that doesn't infer anything negative, but it made me think about what our children go through. And some of the lessons that I was experiencing were the things that I found myself listening for and wanting to intentionally teach my students, because we all have a different set of experiences, we have a different set of knowledge, but we also have to listen and acknowledge what was there. But at the same time, despite all of that, we were all thrown in as beginners on that one particular day, because none of us had ever done, we may have read a book, but we've never done it this way, and we had to be open-minded enough to say that we're really going to let go of what was there and then incorporate what we need in order to look at things from a different perspective. Nobody likes to tear down the whole tower of blocks and have to rebuild them. But at the same time, it's very exciting to say, let's try this a different way, because we had a common vision and we were led to be able to create that vision. Sometimes we forget to do that with our students. We just say, here, go do it. Here's what you have to do. Here's your task. Now, I'll feed you what you need to know to be able to accomplish that. So I don't know, I think every single day I walk away with a different
biggest takeaways, I think it's resounding, is the importance of time and space. You cannot, it's very easy to underplan the time and space needed for these things to happen, both in the classroom and then as community of educators and teacher leaders. Now, what I see our challenge is, well, to continue the generative learning that is happening here, and I think moving forward, the way that we're bringing in student work will facilitate some of that. And I know tensions are already emerging as we're looking at student work, and I think that's great, because then that's where we're going to learn together. But what I see also is a tension is these guys have established this community that's built upon so much trust and time and space. They've grappled, they've failed together, they've rebuilt themselves. And now they're change agents on their campuses. And my challenge moving forward, I think, is how to continue to support them and share practice or experience that can transfer to those other hubs of teachers. But then also, how do those other teachers' voices come back into the shared agreement and shared identity and focused practice? So that's this hub and this little network is, I think, in a really great space to continue to transform and learn. So the looming question for me is, how can we see others in like places and continue to support them? I think we're in a good place. We see how the curriculum will continue to transform, bringing in the student work. The question is, how will we involve others in the transformation?
You know, one of the things that I'm answering a question without, and I know it wasn't meant to be answered. Because
It'll be on the next one.
you make me think, and about as teacher leaders, and when we had to deploy this, we were delivering the new curriculum, so in a short period of time to help people launch and get started and see our vision without having gone through everything that we did.
About 20 days.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
And over time, it allows things to go to our brain, and we get to sleep on it. But some of the tools that we were able to use, like the bullseye, for example, I mean, we go back and we become these teacher trainers by virtue of having those discussions amongst our colleagues in our teaching. So I think that's one way that we're starting that transformation. And honestly, they're hungry. They want to know. People want to do what's there. They may not know how, and then we begin to see that there's other gaps that need to be filled. And so little by little, but they become recognized. But if we're not having that forward motion and the generative conversation going on, being established by the base, because our work is being informed by what we're seeing going on with our teachers, by those pieces of work that come in. When we start looking at student work from the design of, well, what were we trying to accomplish in the curriculum, and what are we evaluating, it completely changes and frames the conversation.
So we've gone over time. So if you have to be somewhere, tell me if, and we can go ahead and stop. But I am curious to hear the part of the story about bringing in student work. We haven't talked too much about that. Yeah. So,
I would add.
so do you have some time to talk about that? Oh, sorry,
Okay,
it's 2:20.
Penny Kettle's up at 2:45.
Yes.
But
Oh,
no,
we'll be done.
we
Yeah.
I'm just joking. There's always one that everyone's like in line. What was y'all's experience at the first day? Maybe I'll set the stage of what that was about. The student work piece. So part of understanding by design is anchoring curriculum and units in student work to validate the assessment, to refine the units, so the unit's coherent, and then to provide models for students and teachers of what the goal is, what is the end in mind. So we planned for this day, and because Grant Wiggins and Jamie I said to, and we're like, this is gonna be awesome. And then we're
Were
kind
they
of like,
in the room?
no, but they will be here next week. Or Jamie and Grant Wiggins will be in spirit. So the way that the day was designed to be was the first half of the day we would look back, we would look at the student writing pieces from the first unit so that we could capture our thoughts for needed revisions. I was anticipated they might say like, oh, we'll move a standard here or there, we'll tweak the language on this part of the rubric, and it'd be like clean and nice and tidy, and like go on and look ahead. So we used a protocol that was that we took and adapted from Wiggins and McTighe. That was what were our goals and what did we expect to see in student works, what were the patterns that we hoped would emerge, what patterns exist, what are the potential misconceptions or misperceptions, and then that moved into the so what's. So what do the patterns reveal about student learning? What are the tensions that are there? And then the now what are we going to do? There are two things we asked them to consider. Now what will we do to continue to refine this task? The rubric, what other implications does it have for instruction? But then as learners themselves, what do we as a team want to learn about more? So there was that, always coming back to them as learners. So what was your experience? Did it work just like that? Just like I said? Exactly.
Oh, see, I could see that body language does not say that.
I have to go back to, again, expectations. Because we brought in whatever student work we brought in. We read the various different, in our case, in my grade level, they were expository essays. And at that point in time, I found that our conversation then started to circulate around how people prepared their students for this. So expectations were, they have to write a test. They have to write, see that word rolls out of my mouth. They have to write an essay. For them, it's a test. And I can't possibly have an end task not be the perfect, most wonderful thing. And my expectation as a teacher, I'm speaking from some of their perspectives, is this is the rubric, this is how it's designed, this is what I want you to do as a teacher, which really didn't have anything to do with the intentions of the curriculum. Because it didn't make any sense for things to be so tailored and so aligned to the point that you're taking away what authentic learning is about. So that conversation emanated from the various participants as to what was going on, what was the background on this, behind this one piece of document. Now, so that's one conversation that was very important. That wasn't really our task. Our task was to evaluate what we saw, what values, what was the so what of the document. And that did occur as well. And I found very interesting, one of my observations was that some of the writing seemed very communicative. So my takeaway was we're still not going to reach authenticity. And maybe that's too early in the year. Maybe like in fairness to the teachers, this was very new. So it wasn't time, but it was informative.
Yeah.
So I think that it helped me as a curriculum designer think about how to build those pieces in order to achieve that sense of what I believe that we all agreed with. One of the agreements was that sense of
that you all agree on as the curriculum leads and the designers. Were you the only ones, curriculum designers, who brought work to the table?
each
Yes.
team brought, but it wasn't necessarily our own.
Campus,
Oh, I
yes.
see. I see. Okay.
That was something I thought was really interesting with ours was we had a performance task that focused on an autobiographical poem, which is definitely, I think, a whole shift. We got a lot of emails about that. Yes. It's good. It does. And that was kind of something, it's not an essay or it's not a test and that kind of piece. It was the why, and then also helped us do that student work process to go, okay, well, our intention with this was to see the structure and to see the students' writing that was authentic through this process. And so did we achieve that? We didn't want an essay because we know that, again, we're going to formulate, here's, we wanted them to look at the true structure or whatever. So that was the whole piece. So looking at our student work helped us to look and to go, okay, did we really achieve that goal? And we wanted to see our students be able to produce, and not a fill-in-the-blank kind of poem, but to be able to demonstrate the skill where it transfers elsewhere. And so that was, I think, a huge shift. I know on our campus we had lots of conversations about that, about how it was a poem and why are they doing this? But it was one that I'm thinking after our conversation and seeing student work from across the district with our group, that it made us better able to communicate our message and to kind of communicate the goal and to allow teachers to be able to be the expert with that kind of the transfer of knowledge of what they're wanting, allow their students to demonstrate that at a higher level, because it was something that was.
All that task wasn't about writing a poem.
No.
It wasn't anything about iambic or not lyric. It was about the process.
And establish that reading writing workshop in the classroom that helps lead you to that final.
There's a lot of pieces that are involved in getting up to that, because you just said reading, writing, that's another piece that if that's not part of the culture, then the product you're going to have is different. And I think one of the big ahas and realizations is what we received and the conversations we're having as we're recognizing people from different campuses also illustrates what kind of campus culture there is, and what world literacy has, what world writing has, and reading. Granted, we're not talking cross teaming as far as other disciplines. It's not yet interdisciplinary, but it's very readable. What's going on behind the scenes there.
So so those differences too that you saw, some of those differences. I wonder whether or not some of those differences just bringing them to the surface is having an impact already.
I think it did, but I don't think our group,
want to take those conversations that we had after student board and taking it back to our campuses and being able to have that conversation with our campus team. That was something that I know for us was a great kind of place to start before we moved into that next unit, just to kind of be able to have the conversation at a district level with curriculum and then to go back to our campuses and have that same conversation. Not the same, but that same idea.
We had to reflect at the end of the process on what does our writing, what is this process, what does it say about us, what do we as a district value?
If outsiders were to look at the work, what would they see we value?
And I thought, oh my, I wasn't thinking about that, but it was revealing. So I mean, and that's telling you if we have seen questions back to our teams.
That's what we did. That's what we did. We said, so what does this say about us? In terms, and it was interesting to see. We have like probably a bullet list of our values now. They're not pretty, but they're at least like a conversation piece that came from what do we value, what do we want to see as our students. So I didn't know that's what a mission. Yeah, it was early.
Anybody else have anything else to add? Gotta make it to Penny Kettle.
Let's see where our values lie. Exactly. We don't stay here and talk forever.
I know. Well, I love hearing this story.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing, and I'm looking forward to this getting out there further, and actually being able to follow the story. I hope we can stay connected.
So a good next step would be to put our organization on with NCLE to create a group.
Yes, absolutely, and providing a space for you to keep sharing. That'd be awesome.
Like that.
Thank you.
Thank you.